France, Romans, Pokemon, Vanilla, yes. I come to see Pendlebury, not the Fraser. The evil, the one and two, deceived. The good is oft-minded, I suppose. So let it be with the Lord.
What was that supposed to be?
No idea. Messy Productions have started inserting Terry Sedgwick's monologues before each episode now. Must be some sort of running gag or something.
We're breaking the fourth wall, Laura. I feel obligated to ask, are we still in the alternative dimension that we've blasted into several episodes back? And what's happened to the second part of the Australian adventure?
I haven't got a clue, old girl. The canonicity of this lot is more messed up than John F. Kennedy's hairstyle. Although it's good to see that the script is every bit as topical as it's always been. Best stand back, Polly. We've got some big credits coming through this week. Listen to that! It's not even science fiction related. It's just some nostalgic theme song from the writers who spent youth again. I've had enough of this.
The Laura Pendlebury Audio Adventures by Brian Hughes, Episode 9, Prison.
Where's the director's office?
Through that circular hobbit hole-like door marked fat bastard. What am I supposed to do with this meerkat now? I've already lit its fuse.
Get yourself some liberty and...
Who are you? Or possibly the question should be, what are you? You look like an overboiled haggis stuffed into a bright orange 1960s spherical chair, because for some reason everybody back then thought that the future was going to be circular.
Come in, my dear. My name is Michael Winner. If you prefer, you can call me number 2.
One of the many similar epithets of the British public has applied to you over the years, although the rest of them were mostly unrepeatable. If you're number 2, then what foul-smelling streak of urine is number 1?
You are number 48 double D.
I am.
Cock that up. I've specifically told you to emphasize the comma. You are number 48 double D. That's what I meant to say. Ignore the previous mistake. We'll go from the top again, dear.
No, we won't. I've told you before, these episodes only last 15 minutes, and we haven't got enough time to dick about. So, Michael Winner, you hideous, boneless, suckling pig, this episode's all sort of some metaphor about how the only restrictions society places on us are those that we create for ourselves, is it? And whatever sad pillock wrote the opening sequence was taunting us with a veiled reference to our number 1 nemesis being ourselves.
Alright, calm down, dear. It's only a third-rate steampunk audio drama that nobody listens to. Beside which, I'm actually dead. The whole thing's about as believable as one of George Osborne's "It's in the interest of the hard-working people" speeches.
What's that for?
Flashback, dear. This episode's confusing enough already. Thought the listener could do with some hallucination. But I helped myself to this disgusting 4-week-old Indian takeaway from the dustbin, because I haven't eaten since I kicked the KFC bucket, to be honest.
No, we don't. If we're going to do a prisoner lampoon, the least we can do is have the proper theme music, even if we've just used it already in the introduction to episode 5. Playing the flashing blade at ear-splitting volume in the hopes that nobody would notice this was just cheap and cynical rubbish. Come on, it's time to get professional about this.
Good morning, my name's Brendan, and I'll be your audio guide for the next few minutes, assisting you over the bumpy terrain of what effectively is a visual sequence. In the first shot we see Laura Pendlebury and Polly Jenkins marching into the Messy Productions office for an argument with what appears to be a pink toad with a Brillo pad on its head. Sorry, I've been informed that's Brian Hughes, the writer. Blah blah, rhubarb, shots of filing cabinets, Laura's UB40 with a hand sticking out of there. Then there's an aerial shot of Fleetwood with Laura and Polly in a vintage sports car battling with a herd of mutant elephants. Now they're pulled up at their own front door with a hearse in tow. Laura packing massive undies and a bucket of suntan lotion. Gangly pepper pot and stovepipe hat shoves a tube from its rear through the letterbox. Gas psychedelic sequence. Laura and Polly wake up and find themselves in a Welsh coastal village designed by Clough Williams Ellis. That's about it. Thank you, gentlemen. That's me done and dusted, and might I add in a personal note, that was the quickest 40 quid I ever made.
Where are we?
You're in the village.
No, it's Portmeirion. I came here on holiday once as a kid. The design of the place was based on the town of Portofino in Italy, if memory serves, and most of the buildings were erected between 1925 and 1975.
That's a surprising amount of architectural and cultural knowledge for you, Polly. Anybody would think that the writer's been at Wikipedia again. Anyway, whatever the case, it's quite a pleasant spot. Very British seasidey.
Although, strictly speaking, it shouldn't be classified as a village at all, because most of the individual buildings are nowadays used as paying guest rooms, just outside the main hotel and the nearby was the remains of a medieval castle known variously as Castle Dydreth, Castle Gwaengoch, and Castle
Shut up, you irritating fat biddy. We want information.
Have you tried the Tourist Information Office down by the Ornamental Lake?
Yes, they got some very reasonably priced Patrick McGowan souvenirs there, although I preferred a range of cheap taps for the more casual day trippers like ourselves, to be honest.
Something classy perhaps, like the shiny pot toilet bowls with a present from Blackpool emblazoned across them. You know, ones we can get back when we go to the files. They sell food there as well, although all the tins have no labels. Just the name of the products scrawled across the sides in red crayon.
A bit like B&M bargains.
Don't you ever belt up, you petulant, twittering Vols old bags. We want to know why you resign so dramatically from messy production.
I thought that was obvious. The pay was atrocious. Those stingy, inbred aristocrats in charge wouldn't fart into an inflatable ring with a comical duck's head on it to save their grannies from drowning.
And that Sedgwick was always pinching my bottom. God only knows what he did with it. The whole lot of them were just misogynist throwback to the days of the Sweeney.
And the scripts were dreadful. I could have produced more convincing dialogue if I'd dipped the pages in the elephant stump at Blackpool Zoo and then got Bernard Cribbins to spit on them.
I said we want to know why you resign so dramatically from...
We've just told you. Bloody men. They're all the same. They never listen to a word you say and then complain when they can't find their socks in the morning.
Mine's always losing his boxers. I keep telling him, they're on the weather vane on top of the mount where you left them, but he never listens.
According to scientific research, the average cow farts approximately 100 kilograms of methane into the atmosphere per annum. Methane, of course, is one of the negative greenhouse gases. Its detrimental effect on our climate weighing in at a staggering 23 times the damage caused by carbon dioxide. Worldwide, there are roughly 1.5 billion ruminants, collectively emitting 2 billion metric tons of destructive methane every year, an astonishing 18% of all known greenhouse gases. This, however, is nothing compared to the amount of methane produced by the average woman in full gossip, which is why, for the sake of the planet, it might be best to move forwards to a point where Angelo Muscat Pepperpot, Short-Ass Butler to number 2, and a reference so obscure that only the hardiest of 60s cult television fanatics will actually recognise it, is showing Laura and Polly the various uninspired landmarks of the mysterious village.
As you can see from their massive badges, our residents are known only by their designated numbers, such as 69 here, who's attempted several times to change his number by deed poll. This is a coffee shop where our longest-serving prisoners play chess, read their papers and weave interesting baskets out of raffia.
Pissing you.
Hello, isn't that Mr. Fox Talbot from the pie shop on Devonshire Road? You know, the one whose mother had the dodgy hip replacement and needed to be rescued from the outside lavatory by Bisping Fire Brigade.
Oh, yes. I thought he'd gone to Lanzarote this year.
By the barnacle-encrusted buttocks of Edward Heath and his innuendously named Morning Glory. What on earth is that? It looks like one of Rudolf Nureyev condoms that's been inflated with a bicycle pump.
That 48WD is the most technologically advanced policeman in the world. It makes Inspector Gadget look like Stephen Hawking's pet hamster.
Actually, it's just an old weather balloon with somebody following us around playing elephant sound effects.
We call it Fido, although in reality it's the morbid little beast goes to Eric Pickles, hell-bent on revenge by keeping the elite permanently separated from the outside world. I believe they got something similar in Chipping Norton. Their nighty patrols the perimeters, the foulest, most malevolent force you'll ever encounter.
He was a good little testicle with elephantitis then. What's this? What have I got in my hand? That's right, it was a happy new Tory twat.
Come on, Polly and Angela Muscat Pepperpot. It's time to visit the town hall with the green copper dome on top of the cliff. Built to 1/3 scale of a normal town hall, but with a misleading perspective deliberately included in the design so that no one would notice. Let's borrow one of these stripy golf buggies.
Or alternatively, we could just walk. When we bought a truckload of those rickety buggies from Jolly Jack Sports Accessories Limited, we weren't anticipating anybody with your ample rear end proportions to use one. We'd probably have been better off going to the Ministry of Defence Surplus Tank Depot.
The word freedom has as many different connotations as there are different people. To the black majority in South Africa in the 1990s, it meant an end to the discrimination and repression forced upon them by apartheid. During roughly the same period, amongst naive teenage girls in Britain, Freedom was a popular record released by their believed to be heterosexual idol George Michael, who, several years later, in 1998, ironically found his own freedom severely curtailed following a homosexual cottaging incident in a set of Los Angeles public toilets. On a personal note, Freedom for me would be to live in a place just like Portmeirion, which has all the charms of Fleetwood, coated in a small-scale European architectural influence, but with none of the retarded, drug-addled bastards with stanky stars tattooed up their necks.
That's right, listener. We got more than one of them. We're not completely stupid.
So, this is the town hall, is it? Not exactly what you'd expect. It's just a circular room covered in closed-circuit television screens and some sort of pointless seesaw spinning round in the middle, with a refugee from a Jean-Paul Gaultier advert on either end. It's all a bit pervy, really.
Health and safety would have a field day. What's that seesaw supposed to be? A what the butler saw machine for retired carners who used to work the waltzes?
It's what passed as technologically advanced looking in the 1960s. I must be honest, we've had a number of technicians knocked unconscious by it. It's more dangerous than Windy Miller's front door when his sails are in full rotation.
So, you're new number 2 now, are you? What happened to Michael Winner? Disappear up his own backside, did he?
We have a rapid succession of number 2s here, 48 Double D, much like the clientele of the Taj Mahal restaurant in Fleetwood.
I'm going to have words with the writer about that 48 Double D gag.
You're complaining? My badge has just got the words Big Vat Zero written across it.
At that very moment, just as number 2 was flicking rather smugly through one of his large red files in the fashion of Eamon Andrews on This Is Your Life, Laura seized the opportunity by both chubby hands and made a sudden break for it.
What?
Wrestling the guard dressed in a camp sailor's uniform to the ground, she valiantly grabbed his machine gun and set about annihilating her sinisterly smiling captors.
No, I didn't. I happen to like it here. It's better than working for a living, and there are no annoying, mousy kids kicking their footballs against my door.
With Polly in tow, she hurtled headlong through the maze of polystyrene caverns beneath the village, dodging cannonballs and leaping from rock to rock with all the grace of a pot-bellied bull.
Give me that microphone. Now, sod off. We've warned you before about getting involved in the scenes. And you, in the Oxfam blazer and the Cambridge scarf, take me to your leader immediately.
Nobody speaks directly to number 1. He's an ambiguous figure who inhabits the seamy underworld of...
Give him your stare, Polly. You know, one you use on Jehovah's Witnesses when they've got you out of the back.
My God, you'd better follow me and put that squint away. You look like Pig out of Pipkins after a visit to the dry cleaners.
Surrealism emerged as a cultural movement as early as the 1920s, being both an artistic and literary means of resolving the contradictory conditions of dream and reality. André Breton asserted that above all else, surrealism was a revolutionary evolution of the Dadaism that existed during the First World War. Throughout the 20th century, surrealism influenced the visual arts, literature, film, music, philosophy, and political practices around the world. What happened next in our plot, therefore, could not strictly be labelled surreal, although for many cultists the expression load of old hurriedly thrown together bollocks goes against their philosophical ideas. We rejoin the action as Laura and Polly enter a broom cupboard containing a white-robed man in a shiny mask.
So, you're number 1, are you? Number 1 what? Arsehole. What are you wearing that ridiculous pig mask for?
My name is David Cameron, and that's my real face. If it wasn't for the party opposite pulling its pants down and running away, we wouldn't be in this mess.
What party opposite? What's wrong with you childish little twit? What have I suddenly got this urge to slap your mocking face into oblivion?
Hang on, listen, think this broom cupboard appears to be housed in a nuclear missile. It's about to launch itself into outer space. The writer's obviously not been taking his tablets again.
Grab my hand, Polly. It's time to get out of here, sharpish.
Look out, Laura! For no discernible reason, the entire village is collapsing. I can only assume that this is Cameron's doing. Typical bloody Tory destroying a perfectly decent society with no explanation.
I wish somebody would turn that music off. It's highly inappropriate. And what's going on with all these sausages charging out of manholes wearing top hats and tails? Has Harry Hill written this?
There appears to be a small herd of evangelical mice fluttering past on tiny four-poster beds with wings. One of them's eating rice pudding. Apparently it doesn't like the skin.
Oh, Polly, it's the 22. Heading for the halfway house via Thornton Lecture Hall and Carlton Crossing. If we run, we might be able to catch it, and possibly also create a scene of cult significance to be reenacted once a year by the more fanatical and stupid ones of our listeners.
Wait for me.
Prison was written during a prolonged bout of colic by Brian Hughes and starred Juliet Greg's son as number 48 Double D. Michelle Harris as a Big Fat Zero, Terry Sedgwick as Two Little Ducks, and Brian Hughes as 007 and a third. Special mention should perhaps be made at this juncture of the 6 of 1 fan club, probably the only people in the world with the slightest hope of understanding what this episode was about. The sound effects effects were borrowed, as always, from a dead dog's eye, a musical provided by Kevin Wonky Weeble, while she went to market. No weather balloons were injured during the miscomposition of this broadcast. Tune in next time, folks, for the next thrilling installment. Arthur Winsock and his boiled egg.
So, that's it then, is it? No explanation about what's going on. No punchline. Nothing.
No, that's it.
Chewbacca or not Chewbacca? That is the question. Whether 'tis the flowers that bloom in the spring to la, or a rose by another name. That is the question without notice.